We're gonna start this presentation where a lot of people end it, and I want to thank you guys for coming. I remember being your age, and bravo to you, because the last place I would have been here was here at nighttime. Probably also the reason why I didn't finish college and went to the military instead. So thank you guys for spending some time with us. We'll try and get you hopefully some valuable information, a little bit excited, and then let you guys go on your way. This is our company logo. We're LiDAholics. We're obsessed with LiDAR. That's LiDAR in a bottle. My name is Matt Kowalski. I've been part of the geomatics community since 2008 when I got out of the Army. One of the things I love about geomatics, survey, laser scanning, radar capture is there's 1,000 different ways to get into it. I started as an apprentice carpenter, and they kind of picked me out and said, hey, you're kind of smart next to these dummies. You want to learn how to do this? I learned how to run a tool station, and then by 2012, I was in charge of 4 different states worth of crews, running countless jobs. I think I had 30 or 40 jobs going at one time, but obviously obsessed with laser scanning. And I co-founded a company called LiDAholics Consulting. We are trying to bring LiDAR and reality capture and geomatics into every industry, AEC, movie industry, and trying to bring more laser scanning into the geomatics industry, which has been very slow to adapt technology that is now almost outdated. So, Gabe?
Yeah, I'm Gabriel Kettler. I started surveying back in 1999 in Arizona. Originally, I spent my first 10 years there building, doing boundary surveys, building master plan communities, installing well, I did all kinds of stuff. We worked with the local utility companies and the gas companies, and pretty much anything that had to do with layout and land surveying. Lots of geodetic surveying and some cadastral stuff. Lots of aerial photogrammetry survey stuff that we did back then. Around 2008, I started working in Alaska. I went up there to, things got slow in Arizona. I went up there and started working in Alaska, land surveying there. We built some missile fields. And when I got back to Arizona in 2011 from working in Alaska, I got into laser scanning. We were building an Intel fab plant for the chips in Queen Creek, Arizona. And I've kind of loved it ever since. Started out basically doing what you guys are doing now, setting the control for the guys with the scanners to come through. And showed some interest. They started kind of bringing me along and brought me into speed. And actually the guys that I worked with down there in 2011 were from Seattle. I still work with these guys. You were on the phone with Don earlier, weren't you? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a really small world in surveying. So fast forward a couple years, I went to work for a company called Bechtel. I worked in the metrology and laser scanning department. I don't know if you guys have heard of metrology, but basically it's a science of measuring. It's kind of like surveying on steroids. In that industry, we did like aligning nuclear turbines, setting up bridge crane rails, and making sure everything was within tolerance, manufacturer specifications. A lot of that would be probably sub-millimeter accuracy, which is a challenge to do. And then I currently work at a company called Turner Construction in Seattle. I'm the survey department manager. We have lots of it. We're an international company. We actually have a business unit here in Canada, Vancouver, and we're all over the place. We're owned by a large company in Germany called Hochtief. None of this may matter to you guys yet, but some of these large companies, once you get out of school, will be good places to start if you're interested in working in the construction industry. We use laser scanning for just about everything that we can in the construction industry, which is it's unique. A lot of people aren't getting everything they can out of LiDAR, but that's one of the things I really am passionate about. So I got with Mac and we started LiDAholics. So here we are talking to you guys about all things survey, and just kind of focusing on LiDAR because it's the best. So that's pretty much it.
All right, anybody fans of American football? It's okay if not, I'm not. If you are, you might recognize this. Videos are always better with sound though. Recognize it?
It's about the Rams.
Yes.
It was telling you right there.
Is that the time we did our voting in the stadium?
It's the. Well, we'll let the video play. This is all scan data, by the way. This is my favorite video. So this is the USC Coliseum, University of Southern California Coliseum. It took us 4 years to remodel it. What they were worried about is at the end of the 4 years, we would get to where we started and the seats would sit like this, right? So we constantly scanned it and monitored it and made sure, applying it to the model to make sure that it stayed relative to where it started. So it's one of my favorite projects I ever got to participate in. Also because I got to spend a lot of time in LA, and being from cold Seattle, being in warm LA during the winter is not terrible.
You never have to shovel sunshine.
Yeah. A few of my other favorite projects: Wilshire Grand, tallest building west of the Mississippi in the U.S. Actually, I monitored this pour. We are in the Guinness World Book of Records for the longest consecutive pour, 20 hours, 200 trucks. We poured day and night, nonstop. Now, I will say this building cheats. The only reason it's the tallest building is because of this pole right here. You gotta win how you win, right? Block 216 was another favorite one of mine. It's an entire city block. It's not incredibly tall. I think it's like the 4th tallest building in Portland. What I enjoyed about it was you see how it goes in, and you guys have some really interesting architecture here, and that I probably would have pulled my hair out letting out. There's one of the buildings that twists and then shrinks and then the optical illusion. I don't know what the name of it is. Is it? That would have been a cool one, a fun one to lay out. But these concrete columns, they change on every floor, and you have to get the angle right. And they have, it's not just concrete with rebar, it's concrete with steel. So you have to make sure the steel is welded right as they're welding it and monitor it. It was a fun one. And then the Salesforce Tower, the tallest building in San Francisco. It was the tallest building west of Mississippi before this building was built. This was actually a Turner job, which is something that I forgot about until I started putting this presentation together. So it is a small community. If he was working for Turner at the time, we probably would have been together on it. There's about 14 or 15 other high rises. Seattle, as much as I hate losing the skyline in Seattle, most of it is because of buildings that I helped put together, sadly enough. All right, Gabe, this is you, brother. Oh yeah, we'll play the video first.
This one's this is an interesting project. This is the Seattle Aquarium. It's the Seattle Aquarium Ocean Pavilion project. So this was scanned on Friday. So you can see there's a lot of stuff going on in here. I didn't clean it. This is essentially just registered together, exported out into Cyclone 3DR, and then I made this quick fly through. So you can see all the people still standing there. That's an archipelago tanker, is what that one's called. And kind of going a little faster than I can talk. But basically, we're building a new aquarium in Seattle. Right now, this is in the shark tank, is where that last scan was. The intent of this survey though was if you guys are seeing all the piping and MEP stuff, mechanical, electrical piping. We'll take this laser scan. I'll reduce it down to a manageable file size and change the spacing in the point cloud. I'll take that. We'll import it into Navisworks, which is a 3D model of that project, and then we'll use that to QC all the installed commodities. And we do that just about every week. Sometimes we'll go 2. But in order with all the piping that you probably noticed there was a lot there. You can imagine if you had to go out there and take physical measurements on each one of those pipes to make sure they were in the right spot, it would take 10 guys a week to be able to do all that. And once you collected the data, you'd have to reduce it and figure out where your problems were. Laser scanning, we can do all of that. And I think that was about 80 or 90 scans altogether for that. And then I took a day and a half. This is another, some other work I did at the Seattle Aquarium Ocean Pavilion. These are smaller tanks. But I laser scan. I actually flew to Tucson, Arizona, laser scanned these tanks and then compared them to a 3D model, looking for deviation from design, and then pointed out any errors that were outside of our tolerance. So, I don't know if you got a good look at that, but
One of the things he's being very modest about is you see this right here. This is that tank that he's talking about. Each of these pieces of acrylic costs $1 million. And so they gave him models of what this acrylic has to do, or the shape of it, and he scanned this concrete, and he was able to tell them to adjust the concrete to fit the acrylic perfectly. The company said they've never had them fit so well, and it's all because of laser scanning.
12 of them went in, no issues. Every single one of them went in on the first try.
And
he's right. And I was very nervous when I did it because, I was the only one there who, had done anything similar to this, and it was similar to some of the work I'd done in the nuclear industry. So when I started at Turner and we talked about it, everybody's skeptical, which happens a lot. People want to be shown that it works. So
and this is just a model, right?
This is a model.
But when it's done, this will be a shark tank, and this will be people walking under it, right? So it has to be right.
And in Seattle, if you ever go to Seattle, the chances of you going to the waterfront and going to that project are high. So my kids, my grandkids, my family, anybody that comes to visit will probably go there. That for me is like makes you kind of want to take a little extra pride in what you do, right? So one of the things I love about this project, it's very challenging, obviously, because nothing is square. Like squares are pretty easy to lay out, check, and make sure they're right. Nothing on this one is everything's curved, and it's not just curved in an arc. It's curved on a surface where it's some crazy shape. But it's a project worth doing, right? Because people will go and they'll get enjoyment out of it. And, really.
How many of you are planning to actually get into the trade? A couple of you? Are you guys planning on having families? Yeah? Mark my words, you'll be driving with your kids, and you'll be like, I laid that building out. I surveyed that, without a doubt, right? Every tradesperson does it.
Yeah.
My kids hate it.
My kid doesn't really like it either.
That is.
I'll speak on behalf of her.
All right, so some of your other.
Okay, yep. The project on the top there is Plant Vogtle in Georgia, one of the first new nuclear projects in America since the 70s. I spent some time working on that, and that was in the metrology group, which again is like surveying, but the tolerances are a lot tighter. So we use laser trackers instead of total stations, and we use sub-millimeter accurate scanners like a Surphaser instead of like what we're using now is plus or minus 2 mil plus a 1 part per mil, which you guys are probably familiar with from your studies. So it's the same accuracy as a total station, right? But statistically, you've got 1 million points that are the same accuracy as that total station, right? So if you just take one shot with the total station, you're all right. I mean, you're not getting too far into like statistical analysis, because you have a million shots versus the one. It can be more accurate, right? I did a lot of that there. Another project we're doing now is the Space Needle. Maybe you guys recognize that. You guys have a fake one here. And we are modernizing the elevators in the Seattle Space Needle, which that was built in the 1940s. There's 3 elevators that go up, and what we're doing to it now is we're replacing all of the elevator motors in the upper mechanical room. And so in order to do that, we have to actually cut out part of the roof, lift that off, and then take the old motors out, put in the new ones, and then we're putting in like a double-decker elevators so that they can move twice as many people. So some of the challenges for that are the platforms down the lower area where people get on have to match, right? So as you stop, people have to be able to get out on each floor. So in order to do that, there's a lot of moving parts there that you have to measure, and you have to be able to do it accurately because anything outside of probably an 1/8, nobody would probably notice, or 3 millimeters. But anything over that,
Can you guys hear us in the back? Okay, just make sure.
anything over that, there starts to be issues with like the Disabilities Act, where they come out of the elevators and the floor isn't level. I mean, there's a lot of challenges with that.
I will say one of my favorite days of scanning ever was right up here on the very tippy top.
Mac and I kind of colluded a little bit. I had to go do some work up there, and this was one of the first projects that I introduced Turner to laser scanning on. And so I had to rent a scanner, and I drug my buddy Mac out with me. He's the vendor, but at that point, and this was prior to us being in business together. But that was one of the first projects him and I actually went out and worked on together. And then this other one, last one that I like to talk about is uranium processing facility in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. So another nuclear project, giant industrial size project, but again, lots of laser scanning, metrology, and then of course all of the layout for the entire project was managed by me. So again, any utilities, any hemp shielding, which is nuclear stuff, they want to protect it from any type of electromagnetic pulse. So all kinds of stuff goes into these buildings, and in the nuclear industry, the walls are 4 foot thick, and the doors are steel, and they're 2 glass doors and shit like that. So really interesting project there.
Has any of this interested any of you guys?
Oh yeah.
A little bit.
So and like Mac and I, clearly we've done a lot of interesting stuff. It sounds really cool, right? But surveying is what started us with this. Like, total stations, being able to run a level. This is how it all started. If you have, an aptitude for it or the knack to go out and do the work and pay attention and care enough to make sure that it's correct before you walk away, this is the kind of stuff that you can build. And I do get like jazzed up talking about it, but the shininess wears off, and you go to these projects every day, and it's a job again.
The one part I love about it, a little bit about me that I willingly share with everybody, is I have ADHD, and so one of the cool things about it is you never have the same project again. There's always something new to do, something new to learn. You get into laser scanning, you get into drones. You'll never know where this industry will take you.